Hello everyone and welcome again to Ag Life. I'm Gerard Lampow. On our show, with harvest hanging in the balance and producers still having crops in the field, we get some information on mental health. We visit as well with two young ranchers in the Macklin area, and we get into the Strychnine Debate. First, let's jump into it. Alberta's Suicide Prevention Resource Center says at least one person dies by suicide every day, and 75% of those people are men. So let's get some mental health support for area producers. As farmers assess the weather and wait for improvement, they could be swamped not just by the unwelcomed rains, but also the stress of watching their livelihood sitting in a field and not being able to get at it.
Farming is an amazing industry, but our challenges are quite unique. Weather, market, financial stress can take a toll. So someone's support network might be within their community, but it also could be online if they are isolated or not close to town.
Leslie Kelly, who farms in the Watrous area, pitches in with the group Do More Ag as farmers look for ways to support each other. Their industry has one of the highest rates of suicide of any profession.
Farming is around the world, so I've also heard of people using online support groups and those from all over the world, because our challenges are different, but they're also unique within ag, and no one knows a farmer like another farmer.
Kelly is encouraging her farming peers who might be struggling with their mental health as the weight of their soaked canola is upon them.
I would say look for signs and symptoms of someone having a mental health crisis. If they are, be there for them and try to let them know of professional services available, but also just be willing to either lend a hand to or lend an ear to listen, or tell someone, show them that you are having a hard time, and that can mean so much to someone to help them through this.
Do More Ag was launched in January and is now offering a mental health first aid program starting with 12 communities across Canada.
So that mental health first aid really helps to build confidence and tools within our communities. So we're working on that. And another thing that we're going to be launching here in the late fall is an awareness campaign that showcases the barriers around our language and how we can overcome them. So an awareness campaign of what mental health is and how we can overcome some of those barriers and stigmas.
For more information, you can visit their website, Do More Ag. And still to come, a couple of young ranchers share with us about their family operation. Ag Life continues after this break.
This segment of Ag Life is brought to you by Webb's Machinery. Webb's Machinery, your New Holland dealer in Vermilion, Vegreville, and Lamont.
Ag Life continues now, and we're always talking about the family farm, so it's awesome to meet a recently married couple. I think John is, what, fourth generation?
Four generations.
And Kaylee as well, in your family, also an agriculture background, yes?
Yes, very much so.
All right, so we want to welcome you guys, and thanks for having us out to your place here just in the Macklin area. Kaylee and Jon Lock. Kaylee, let's start with you. Tell me a bit about your agriculture background.
Well, I grew up on a farm just west of Lloydminster, around Islay, Alberta. We ran 200 head of purebred Red Angus cattle and about 3,000 acres of farmland. I grew up in it just like John did. We traveled around all over the provinces to show cattle. I've been all the way out to Ontario to show and experience that as a junior. Pretty much as soon as I could walk, I was with the cows. Whenever Dad took me out, I was always happy to be out there. That was called my babysitters at time. And ever since then, I tried to do everything. So any career I've took has still been a part of the agriculture group, and tried to stay heavily involved with the 4-H, no matter where I may be in the province. It's one of those things that are near and dear to your heart.
Awesome. And John, what about you? Because your folks are still on the farm there with you guys.
Yep. My great-grandparents moved to the place where Mom and Dad live right now in 1924. After that, my great-grandfather served in World War I and World War II, and my grandfather, Jim, wasn't old enough to go to war in World War II, so he was the one that stayed at home and looked after the farm. And the joke that Grandpa always said was when great-grandpa came home from war, he found 10 old horses, a skinny teenage boy, but a farm that was paid for. So And then after that, Dad started farming when he graduated from university, and came back to the farm and farmed with Grandpa. And in 2006, I came home to the farm after university. So.
Awesome there. And of course, a great family tradition continuing. You guys have pulled Herefords, horned as well, and as well the Angus. Tell me how the herd developed in that direction.
Right from the start, my grandfather Jim always had, it was mostly a Hereford-based cow. There was some shorthorn bulls, some Charolais bulls used right off the start. Then after that, when Dad was more involved into it, it went back mostly to a Hereford on Hereford base. And in 1971, Dad started with the purebreds, buying a few heifers, and grew his herd from there on out. And in 2006, I started, when I came home from school, I had already started a little bit of a black herd, and that's where we are right now.
Super. Of course, one of the things is in terms of growing the family farm, lots of youngsters and got lots of choices in terms of life, but you guys are deciding you put the gauntlet down and this is where you stand, Kaylee. So speak to me about that.
I think when it comes to growing the family farm, a lot of it comes down to growing up in the lifestyle and the passion for it. Like going out and checking cows or helping out in the combine or anything to do with that is more fun. Then it doesn't feel like work. You're not putting in that 9 to 5 kind of hours. It's that excitement to get up in the morning and go out to check out the cows or check out the crops, see how things are going. I think it's a lot of those things that kids had the choice now to do whatever they want to do, and it's a really nice feeling to be able to have a choice to come to a farm and grow it and have that tradition in that family.
Yeah. One of the things I've read and heard about Herefords is that they're gentle personality and that we can stand in this pasture here and just chat and all of these animals are right around us. Who wants to jump in here on that?
For us, the Hereford, it's next to impossible to beat for their docility. You know, during calving season, handling them, anything, it's tough to even get them worked up. As you can see, they're mostly standing around. And we hold our Angus cows with the blacks here and now with the red starting up too. We hold them to the same criteria. No attitude problems. If you show anything like that, you're not welcome at our farm. We send them to the livestock exchange pretty quick.
Yeah. And a lot of it's to do is how they're managed and how well you work them. And we're out in the cattle, checking them once a week. And then when they're in the yard, they see humans constantly all the time. And we like being in around them and in amongst them so they get used to us. The more that they get used to us, the more calmer they are, the better they are that way. And that's how we want to run them. People are different that way. They like to send them out in the bush and let them run. That's great too. It's just we prefer to be able to go up and give them a scratch and take a look at them and stuff like that.
Yeah. How did you all do this calving season? Like how many calves and so on?
We calved out 300, a little bit more than 300 cows this year. Weather wasn't the greatest during calving season, but for us, we combat that. We have a pretty good calving shelter and a heated barn that, if need be, we can get them into there. So the calving shed that we have holds 30. We can put it in. It's not insulated or anything, but we can get the doors closed on it, and 30 cows in there with the...
They seem to like the calving, and of course they like checking out the camera there. But we're going to continue on this. My next question that I want to ask you guys about, because you guys are recently married, and in terms of growing the family farm, and I know your relatives are going to have a chuckle about this. So I'll phrase this question another way. In terms of what are the challenges now as a young married farming couple?
Oh, I don't really know where to go on that one. Like
Anywhere, jump in anywhere on it.
The challenge, I think, for us being a new married couple and for the fact that we've grown up in the agriculture sector as long as we have our own opinions about things.
Come here.
And so it's fun to actually have that discussion on what way we want to go about it, but it's more of a discussion and it's more entertaining, I would say. Other than that, it's just we hope to eventually grow the family. When that'll happen, we'll find out. But
So one of those issues then that you have a slight divergence of opinion, it could be about a farming topic even.
Oh
yeah.
We'll argue about when we get to a sale, and they'll be down to 2 bulls or something, and we're always arguing which bull is better, almost always, guaranteed.
Yeah.
Who wins that conversation?
It depends on the day. There's been a couple times that we've had discussions about like what bull we like and prefer. And we've kind of come to the agreement that when it comes to anything on the Black Angus side, Jon has the last veto, last say. And then when it comes to anything on the red side, I get the last veto. So we've come to that conclusion, but there's still going to be those heavy arguments and discussions.
I was asking him earlier about the genetics. Does it lean anywhere in that direction, guys?
Actually, we kind of have a similar eye when it comes to cattle, so that's really helped us, especially when it came to us dating. It was really nice to know that we had like the same kind of cows. So it's really not that much of difference when it comes to that sector of it all. It's a lot of it's just to how picky we want to get.
Your thoughts, Jon?
Yeah, it's, when we get down to picking bulls and stuff, it get down to the genetics. Maybe there's a sire in the background of the bull that I didn't really like a whole lot when he was younger, and so you can get really fussy when it comes to that sort of thing. It's the nice thing about the Black Angus and with the Reds and the Hereford and the Polled and the Horned Hereford, it's a very big base. So it's easy if you don't like a line of cattle, a genetic line of cattle, it's easy to just, there's lots of other ones to pick from. So it's fun. It's fun shopping for bulls. It's something that I enjoy doing a lot. So.
Well, it's fun looking at these guys. Let's see if we can wrap this up. Maybe some closing comments, Kaleen and Jon there. Your thoughts overall as you move forward in life together and continuing in this line with the family name and such.
I think it's exciting. There's a lot of new technologies, a lot of new things coming out in agriculture that we're able to experience and kind of bring on into the farm if it works. But it's going to be, I don't know, I'm just excited for the future on everything else it has to bring. You never know what's going to be around the corner.
Yeah, perfect on that. Jon?
It's always looking forward. There's always something 5 years down the road that you're looking at, whether it's maybe a piece of land that's going to come up, or who knows what the market is going to be even in the next 2 weeks. So, you're always trying to look as far forward as you can in this industry. So.
Perfect. Ag Life here with us, Jon and Kaleen Lock, just in the Macklin area, enjoying the Angus and as well the Herefords. We'll be back after this break. Ag Life continues now. We're out in the field just north of Lloydminster, visiting with Ron Weaver. Ron, thank you very much for taking the time to chat with us here.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Tell me about your operation this year. How has been the growing season?
The growing season's been good. We were a little bit dry in June and early July, but we had rain just in time, and the crops look good.
Wonderful. So we're expecting a bountiful harvest.
Well, we're expecting a good one, yeah. I'm not sure about bountiful, but it'll be good.
Of course, you've got cattle as well. How are you doing on the livestock side?
There again, we were worried about our grass production, and if we hadn't got the rain when we did, we would have been in trouble. But as it turned out, we're going to probably meet our expectations as far as grass production as well.
Wonderful. So what we're meeting to talk about, there's a consultation period on right now in terms of the use of strychnine by producers to deal with rodents and such, specifically gophers. And out in this field, we've got a number of gopher holes. Just how serious is the problem in this field here, Ron?
Well, this field is probably a fair representation of what I would consider almost a problem. I mean, it's always going to be an issue, and it always has been, but we're getting to the point here where we're really going to have to start to step up, as far as controlling the rodents.
All right. What do you do to control them here at your place?
Oh, we use strychnine. It's the 2% concentration that's now available to us. It's effective. It's relatively easy to put out for them, and we've had good results in the past.
Yeah. Now, of course, one of the things about it is you have to follow the directions, and one of the concerns is this consultation period and talking about whether to ban that product or not is whether people follow the directions. How do you use it here?
Well, we follow the directions. It's supposed to be mixed from 2% to a 0.4% concentration, and we mix it usually with leftover seed wheat or some sort of grain that we have around, and we put it directly down the burrows as per the instructions. We find that it's effective, and we've had no concerns about any sort of damage to any other wildlife.
Yeah, that's one of the big concerns, really, other wildlife, and apart from the gophers and so on. If you had to quantify the level of damage here in terms of putting a dollar figure on it annually, what would that be in terms of your crop, in terms of your livestock?
Well, I wouldn't know what to say to that question on average, but I do know in the past we have had damage in cropland that has been in excess of thousands of dollars. It was newly broke pasture that we had tilled under and then turned over to crop, and we did some control with poison the first year, and not enough. And the second year we had there would have been probably close to 10 acres that was completely destroyed by gophers.
Of course, a lot of people don't readily understand in terms of cropland or livestock and so on. Let's talk about the livestock. I mean, just coming up here alone, I parked the vehicle and my first step out was straight into a gopher hole.
Yeah, that's not unusual. We've had livestock damage as far as broken legs, animals we had to put down. We've never had a horse break a leg, but we have had horses that have been injured. And people as well. I mean, we work out here. We have to walk around out here in the normal sort of process of the things that we do. And there's been twisted ankles, people falling down and hurting themselves, and that's going to happen. It's not it's not a nice flat surface at the best of times, but it can get quite bad to the point where it's almost impossible to drive across in a vehicle.
Wow, that's really tough to think about, and you yourself as well had to deal with a few twisted ankles and such there.
Yeah.
Now, what is the alternative if strychnine is banned after this period of consultation here?
Well, we had a little experience with that years ago when we didn't have access to the higher concentration of strychnine, and what we found with the other products that we could access is that they were for the most part ineffective. Very, very labor intensive. They were a lower concentration, so the animals had to be baited a lot more than just once or twice. And when you're talking about large numbers of acres, I mean, even to control all of the gophers on a quarter section of pasture, even with the products that we have available now, would take a week or more, to actually properly bait all of the holes.
Yeah, one of the other options, of course, is shooting them, but all the options seem to be quite time-consuming.
Yeah, and we do a lot of that as well. It is time-consuming. It can be relatively expensive, and it's one of those things that there's always something a little bit more important to do, so it tends to get left until later, and then you find yourself in a situation like we have in this field where we've let it go too long, and now we have an issue with the gophers. And the gophers, I mean, to start with, are bad enough and destructive enough, but you get the things that prey on them, like coyotes and badgers that dig big holes. And for the most part, I would say, although they are eating some of the gophers, they cause a considerable amount of damage as well.
Wow. So the final question would be, as we're seeing a gopher running off in the distance there, what would you say to the consultation at this time as an ag producer impacted by this problem, both on the livestock and on the crop side?
I would say that, with a lot of the aspects of what we do as ag producers, there's a lot of things that are regulated. Whether it's herbicides or pesticides, or in this case, strychnine for gopher control. And, the onus has always been on us to make sure that we do follow the label and use those products properly. There is always opportunity or, situations where that doesn't happen. And those seem to be the cases where there where there is problems.
So for the most part, then following those instructions. Ron Weaver, we want to thank you very much for visiting with us here on Ag Life, and best of luck to you and yours for this harvest season.
Thank you, Gerard.
With the swift change in weather, area producers are being reminded to check the eyes of our furry friends. We learn about a prevalent vision problem. Veterinarians are advising producers to check their livestock as horses and cattle seem to pick up eye infections more often at this time of the year.
We see eye problems in horses and cattle all year round, but there seems to be a little bit of a heightened in late August to October, possibly due to the increase in flies passing around all the bacteria from animal to animal, getting itchy, grass-ons that are flying around into the eyes, just general changes that come with fall.
The problem is especially difficult when you understand the way in which a horse is able to see. Horses have great peripheral vision, which helps them evade prey.
They see left side and right side, which is why you don't want to walk up right behind a horse. They may not see you.
Horses have hooves, not hands, so it's difficult to remove a speck of dust or grass from their eyes.
I treat horse eye problems as an emergency. Horses lack fingers, so if they get something in their eye, they can't just wipe it out like we can. And this leads to a problem of making scratches on the eyes. Horse eyes, because they are so important for them, can definitely go from just nothing to the point where we may need to take the eye out in a hurry.
Horses will need to be sedated so that a vet can find the problem and treat it. Eye drops, ointments, and antibiotics are the next step. With cattle, the treatment is different.
Cattle, we don't generally have the luxury of being able to put eye drops in 4 times a day. And so they are treated more systemically with injectable antibiotics.
Producers need to look out for runny eyes. The vet will ask if it's both eyes and what color is the discharge. Getting drops in 4 times daily is a challenge.
If the eye drops are not going well, there are special little systems we can put in, which is basically a tube through the eyelid, and then we put it tied back and you put the medication through that way.
Eyes are the windows to the world. Vets advise to treat eye problems sooner rather than later. Well, that's a wrap on this week's show. A reminder, it's Animal Health Week, so make sure all our animals, including our ones on the farm, are vaccinated. I'm Gerard Lampow. We'll see you again next time for All Things Ag.